Greetings, amigops! Welcome back to Top 10 with Kyle and Mike. I am your co-host, Kyle. Opposite me today, as he is every week, is your co-host, Mike. This week, Mike has a topic prepared. I do not know what the topic is. Mike will share his top 10 of said list, at which point we will rigorously debate until we have agreed upon a definitive top 10. What do we got this week, Mike?
All right, big dog. This week, we're going to be talking about the top 10 fictional dogs.
Oh my god. This is the first time this has happened and I'm surprised. This is a list I was already working on, so this is going to be great.
Wow.
Well,
perfect.
Well, not quite. I was working on a list of top 10 talking dogs, so my list was going to be a lot shorter than yours, but I'll have some good ammunition by which to contribute. So this is fantastic.
Excellent. It's funny you say that because I had a feeling this might happen at some point, and I'm glad that this was the topic because this was like a surprisingly fruitful topic. I thought, like, I had been talking to Caroline about a dog, and I kind of caved in admitting that I would get a dog someday, which is something I've been holding the line on for. I usually like to just look at dogs.
Sure.
And so I was like, what kind of dogs do I like in the fictional realm? And there are a lot of them. Like,
yes.
A lot.
Many thousands.
Many thousands. Not a lot of mine talk, actually. Like, a surprisingly small number of mine talk, but I actually don't think this is a topic that really needs much explanation. These are dogs that are awesome for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I'll have a couple of questions about the legality of some of my choices. But
yes, there are. I'll get out front of that question because I have a feeling we're on the same page here. We require 50% domesticated canine heritage to count as a dog. So there are certain borderline dogs that would maybe more of like a wolf situation.
I see.
Did you have a related question or something else?
So, like,
are you concerned about werewolves?
No. Well, you'll see what I mean. But let's also say, for example, because I'm very concerned about this. Let's say, for example, you had a dog where, for some strange, sick reason, instead of hind legs and quarters, attached to this dog was a cat. And you might call such an animal a cat dog.
That would not be a dog, I don't think. Although I guess dog, like, you would have to consider the halves separately. Dog could be considered, I think.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to get into it.
No, that's interesting. I don't know. That would have to lose a lot of points for the digestive issues that I think would come up. I was always very concerned about that. Like, I poor cat dog. There's like one episode where they allude to one of them having bad breath because of what the other one's eating. But frankly, they would always have bad breath because their mouth is a butt.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, thankfully they kind of skirt right past that whole thing.
But that seems like a silly thing to skirt past. Like, that show didn't really shy away from much. You have to address the fact that both of their mouths are butts. That's just something that has to be discussed, I think.
You would think, because kids do love poop humor, but
I certainly do. I'm giggling just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, so maybe dog is an honorable mention. Let's get into the actual list.
All right. Let's get into the real list. All right. So clocking in at number 10 is a classic, one of the oldies and the goodies. Old Yeller.
Yeah.
So Old Yeller was a fighter, a rootin' tootin' fighter. Alas, he succumbed to rabies. So I was doing a little Googling on the old Yeller, and I couldn't remember what his issue was, but it was rabies. He was defending the family farm from a rabid wolf. It was a tough go.
It's obviously, dogs are a soft spot for a lot of people.
Yes.
But even before we as a family had our own dog, and I grew a special attachment to them, this is one of the first times I can remember, like, really bawling at a movie. It's so sad.
Yeah, well, it's a tough setup. As I was thinking about Old Yeller, I realized it's basically the same setup as Of Mice and Men, which is very upsetting. There's a book I read recently that I really liked, where it literally opens with this young boy who lives in Texas, who his dog somehow gets injured and his dad makes him kill the dog. And it's just, I think what's happened is Old Yeller has really crystallized in sort of the pop brain. That's a symbol of having to do something really hard as a way of growing up, is to kill Old Yeller. It sucks, but it's very iconic.
Have you heard people say that?
Oh yeah. Oh, the Old Yeller image is very real. It's like a coming of age type thing.
Yeah. Fortunately,
I don't hear people like throw out, "Oh man, we lost that basketball game. It was a real Old Yeller moment." Like, but it's it's definitely an image people have in their mind.
I don't think I've reached manhood yet.
Yeah.
But if performing an act such as this is required to attain my manhood, I think I'm pretty content to just stay as is, I would say.
Well, I'll say that if friend Steph is listening to this, she was there when I was going through a tough time after I'd met Hoppy, that bird who flew into the window who I tried to save.
Oh no.
I am most certainly not a man, because my dad told me to just kill the bird. And in retrospect, it probably would have been the kinder thing. Instead, I tried to nurse that bird back to health. I held it, and I held that bird as it died. So like, maybe that was my passage into manhood. I don't know. I didn't kill it, but I really probably should have.
Well,
I don't know. I still have a lot of feelings about that.
You've got this like forlorn, like looking into the distance kind of look on your face right now.
Kyle, it was very real. I think it was really, the problem was it was very symbolic of like the death of my childhood, because this was in the summer after I had finished college and was about to start work, and there's just a lot going through the old noodle. And
I'm sorry, in this story in my head as it's playing out, you're like maybe 9 years old.
Oh no! Oh my God! No! I'm 22 years old. No, I saw Steph. It was the first time I had been back to school after we graduated, and I saw her, and I was like, "Steph, I had this horrible incident." And she's like, "Oh no, what happened?" And I explained Hoppy, and it was a moment. It was really something.
No, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't mean to make light of your experience.
No, it's okay. But luckily, I can connect with Old Yeller. I really understand it, and I'm proud of that kid for killing his pup.
Yeah, good on him. Old Yeller number 10 then.
Yeah, that's number 10. Number 9
woof.
Woof. Oh. Number 9 is an all-time classic, the crime dog, McGruff.
Ah, Scruff McGruff.
Yeah, so McGruff has got a trench coat, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
He's a dog in a trench coat. I would have to Google him again. I'm not sure if he has a fedora on, but if he doesn't, he has those ears, those big floppy hound ears that sort of function as his fedora.
He wears an actual hat.
He does, right?
Absolutely he does, but he does have long ears as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a handsome dog. He was apparently part of like a campaign, I know he was part of the campaign, but he was part of an open request to the public to start the new campaign, and somebody submitted the crime dog, and it just stuck.
So, like, when was that? Do you know how long Scruff McGruff has been fighting crime?
He has been fighting crime. I think it said he was submitted in 79 and first hit the airwaves in 80, something like that, but it's like 1980, so he's been around
quite some time.
Almost 40 years now.
Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. It's funny because I don't know if you've seen it, but he was in a Geico commercial recently where, like...
Yes, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
He, like... It's one of the... That's the format where it's like, if you're this, then this. And it's like, if you're a dog, people talk to you like a baby. And Scruff McGruff is, like, in an actual police department. He's like, guys, we've got enough clues to solve the crime. And they're like,
yes.
Do you have to go to the bathroom? Do you have to go to the bathroom, Scruff? He's like, guys, come on, I have a clue!
That's exactly what it was. That was when I saw him on TV recently. Like, think about that. He's culturally significant enough that reference is meaningful.
Yeah, he needed no introduction. People, it's the crime dog. It also bears mentioning that Fred McGriff, Hall of Famer, was known as the crime dog.
Which is just so great. That was the note I put next to his name. That's my favorite thing about the crime dog, is that Fred McGriff, like, weird Hall of Famer. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
He had a really weird career because he was never great, but always was pretty good. I don't know. But yes, he was nicknamed the crime dog.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about borderline Hall of Fame candidates some other day. We'll sort them. Yeah, so that is number 9. Number 8 is a dog that we can talk about this because we will be discussing the fictional incarnation of this dog. It's a real dog. He would be much higher on my list if it were just my list. But I'm trying to be fair to the people.
Sure.
Number 8, one of my all-time favorites, Balto. So Balto, I think, has mixed parentage. I think he is half domesticated canine, half wolf. I think is his heritage.
He's
not a full wolf.
He's definitely has some wolf in him, though.
But he's not full wolf, right? We can right. So that's his background. So that's why he's allowed on this list. A couple bullets on Balto. One, I forgot this, was voiced by Kevin Bacon.
Really?
Yes, I forgot about that. Which makes him a great candidate for the 6 degrees or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like, you've got Balto in there. That's great. He's in the mix. So apparently, the rest of what I'm going to tell you is the bummer part of the story, which I think I shared with you at dinner one time. Okay. So after he won the Iditarod, he became a vaudeville star and was pretty much treated poorly and toured around the country in increasingly grubby circus situations.
Okay.
So that's a bummer. But the biggest bummer of all is that really his owner was just some asshole who stole the last leg of this, like, race to bring was it diphtheria medicine, I think?
Oh, thank God. I thought you meant
because I just said
I thought you meant he had stolen an actual leg from the dog.
No, he did not steal a leg from the dog. Also, I said Iditarod. That was just made up. The thing is that he brought the diphtheria medicine, and I don't think there's anything to do with that. I think the race might be based off of that. I don't know. I'm making most of this up. But the fact of the matter is, he brought diphtheria medicine to the people of Alaska, but really it wasn't his trip to make. His owner was supposed to take him as the second to last leg, but basically just said, F that guy.
Yeah.
Blew right past the stop, took him in, and got all the glory for himself, and that's why we know who Balto is.
I distinctly remember you telling me that story.
Probably because of the just sadness dripping from my every word.
You were in a bad place. This may have been shortly after you had to let that bird die.
Yeah, it probably is all related.
Go back to that angsty teen playlist.
Yeah, seriously. But at any rate, Balto is an all-time classic Disney movie. Mm-hmm. Not a really like highly regarded one in the pantheon of Disney movies, but a really, really good one.
I confess I haven't seen Balto in probably like literally 20 years. Like, I saw it as a kid and have never watched it again, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's understandable, but there's some funny polar bears that don't eat the dogs for some reason. Okay. I don't totally get that.
Okay.
Is it a seagull? I think it's a seagull. There's like a funny bird that's involved. There's a Russian. I think the bird is Russian. It's all very strange. One of the polar bears is Russian.
Sounds like he's got a very varied group of talking animal friends, which is good.
Yes, in kind of an enjoyable way. There's a mean dog that doesn't think he belongs because he's a wolf. There's a pretty red girl dog. There's a lot to this story.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's Balto for us.
Fantastic.
So we're gonna roll into number 7. So number 7, I originally had slotted in a different dog. I'll tell you the original dog was Cujo. But I decided to pull Cujo because I think we should put what I would consider the inspiration for Cujo, the mother of all monster dogs, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
I knew this hound would appear on this list somewhere.
Yeah, so the Hound of the Baskervilles had to appear.
Obviously.
And I thought Cujo was a good replacement because they're really basically the same idea of dog, which is like demon hell dog that screws with everything.
Yeah.
So the story of the Hound of the Baskervilles, for those of you who are not familiar with the story, is there's this family that lives in the English countryside, and there seems to be a curse on the family, and there are these giant footprints that are near the scene where the patriarch of this family died. there's this suspicion that there's this giant dog haunting everybody. Long story short, there's some mischief going on involving, I won't spoil it, but I will spoil the fact that it is not a monster dog.
I'll say the game is afoot.
The game is afoot. It is not actually a monster dog. It is a bloodhound mastiff mix that has been covered with phosphorus to make it glow and look like a hell dog on the British moors.
Terrifying.
It's a wonderful story. One of the best Sherlock Holmes stories. I also was tempted to do the dog in the nighttime, but I decided to skip that. We only needed one Sherlock Holmes reference for this story.
That one's also a little more obscure.
That one's a little bit more obscure, but The Hound of the Baskervilles is an all-time classic, and as I said, a big inspiration for a lot of very low-budget movies to follow.
Certainly. And a very, very well-done adaptation in Sherlock on the BBC. That's a really fantastic
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that's my favorite of the Sherlock episodes, is The Hounds of Baskerville, where it's reimagined as like a government testing facility.
It's so cool.
It's so great. That scene where Watson is all spaced out and is like going around the government facility is just
and
so
he's
good.
Tripping balls, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great one for the listeners who are not as versed in their Sherlock. That's a very worthwhile episode to watch.
Absolutely.
So that's through number 7. Number 6 is a little bit like Old Yeller, one of sort of the foundational dogs that we think about when we think about the modern fictional dog.
Yep.
Number 6 is Buck, is the name. I didn't know the name originally, but it's the dog from The Call of the Wild. So I read this quite some time ago and remember almost nothing of the plot, and intentionally didn't look up the plot because I didn't want to pretend that I remembered what happened. But The Call of the Wild is one of the more famous, like, boys' adventure books of the early 1900s. Was a big inspiration for a lot of books that take on the perspective of an animal. Because at least to my knowledge, so I take that for what it's worth, I don't think there were a whole lot of books at that time that were taking on the actual perspective of an animal. That was pretty uncommon. I would struggle to think of one.
I've not actually read Call of the Wild, but I know...
Really?
Yeah, I know it's on my list. I know that it was a big inspiration for... Did you read... what the hell is it called? Into the Wild?
The one about the guy who gives it all up, Chris McCandless?
Yeah. He references Call of the Wild like 1,000 times in that book. This is a very famous book. So explain it to me, I guess. So like it's told from the perspective of this dog Buck?
Yeah, it's not like I don't think it's his narration, but it's all about that dog, and the human piece of it is sort of peripheral. It's about the life of this dog in a way that's kind of unique. There's a lot of people who are interacting with animals in literature kind of up to that point, but you don't really get as much of like the actual animal other than your classic fairy tale animals as humans type setup.
Yeah.
This was just like about an animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously with some personification involved, and it's like a slightly anthropomorphized animal, but it's not really. It's just kind of an animal, and we're following it. So it's kind of interesting because it's following up on a time period where people started to think about animals a lot more in that way. My one fact about Jack London, because I remember this from an English class, is that he lived among the homeless in the East End of London for a while and wrote about it. And I just can't imagine anything that sounds worse than being in turn of the century London among the poor folk in the East End. And to do it voluntarily just seems like a poor decision.
Yeah, it sounds shitty.
Yeah, I think it was intended to be some like investigative journalism. I don't know. I feel like Jack London really, if he knew then that nobody would know that, but everybody would remember Call of the Wild.
Yeah.
I think he probably would have devoted more of his creative energies to the Call of the Wild stuff and just skipped out on that, like being in the gin joints of shitty London town.
It kind of reminds me of, on our last pod, we talked about how Stieg Larsson was trying to call attention to the Swedish welfare system. But It's a
Yeah,
little,
in
it's
the
a little
same way,
different
this was-
because like he didn't subject himself to the Swedish welfare system. But
Yeah, totally. Well, this is a situation where you have a really great artist,
yeah,
who's dealing in a genre that's not really like fancy and snooty and doing it really well, and then decides to get fancy and snooty. And he did cause a stir in his day, and people were kind of interested, but history has borne out that nobody really gave a shit. And Call of the Wild remains a really popular book that even kids today read.
yeah, absolutely. It's very popular. I just somehow never read it, like a fool.
Yeah. Did you read the Gary Paulson books, like Hatchet and all those?
Hatchet is
Yeah.
among the most influential books I've ever read. Yeah, my dad gave me that book, and I devoured it, and I've read all of the sequels. They're really, and I probably reread Hatchet every year or so, because you can read it in like a day. It's so quick. If you've never read Hatchet, please go do it. It's really a special book, but
Totally. And it's one, and I think that's part of why I feel like the dog from Call of the Wild should appear so high on this list, is that that's a pretty big influence on books like Hatchet.
yeah, sure, cool.
Big time. So that takes us through number 6. So I'm going to recap real quick. At number 10, Old
hold
Yeller. Yeah, what? Oh, we didn't do, Not Tops.
Yeah, did you make one?
No.
Yeah,
No, I totally didn't. You got any?
I have a long list here, but they're all good boys. I can't really think of a bad one. I guess the one I would say is a not top, only based on perception, is
Oh, please say what I hope you're about to say.
I don't know, the Beast from The Sandlot, where
Oh,
all of the kids believe him to be a monstrous devil of a dog, and it turns out he's just the friendliest old dog you ever saw. And is his name Magnus, or it's something awesome?
Zeus?
It might be Zeus, but I think
It's Hercules.
that sounds right.
I think
Greek.
it's Hercules.
But
yeah, but it's a real dog that's like
Yeah.
300 pounds.
Oh, it's huge. And I think they call it the Beast. Like, oh, if your
Yeah.
ball goes in there, it's the Beast's ball now.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
like,
but he turns out you're right, but he turns out to be nice after all.
oh, he's just a big old baby and slobbers all over him. But
Yeah.
I remember as a kid watching Sandlot being so terrified of that dog.
And ironically, you should have been afraid of James Earl Jones. He's Darth Vader.
Yep, exactly. So,
I got one for you. One that I just thought of. The Grimm.
ooh.
I think, yeah. You know,
It's the Grimm.
it's really important that nobody forget Exposition Mick Exposition-y, the guy who makes one appearance in Prisoner of Azkaban and is there to explain everything.
Token
And then
black
never,
guy.
yeah, token black dude Mick Exposition who's there and then never shows up ever again. And gives one of my favorite lines from all of Harry Potter. When talking about Sirius Black, it's like the best thing of the whole movies. It's like trying to catch smoke. It's like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. And it's so unnecessary and makes no
And
sense.
someone is like, who are you?
Yeah, it's like, he doesn't even go here. Like, they should have inserted the he doesn't even go here audio into
He goes to
that scene.
Durmstrang.
Yeah, like, it's just so dumb.
I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, so that's that guy, and he's not a big fan of the Grimm. Very concerned about the Grimm. Doesn't turn out to be that much of an issue.
Yeah, I'm sure there are there are a lot of nameless, faceless junkyard dogs that could fill this role nicely.
That's true.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but
One other one that I want to mention is Arnold, the Rottweiler that the gang from Entourage owns. Just because, in retrospect, I'm never going to go back and erase my time as an Entourage fan, because it was good for a time. But I just kind of feel like a little bit of a douche, the fact that I liked it. And so Arnold contributed marginally to that. So for that, Arnold, you're on the not top 3.
fantastic. That's fine for not top 3. With the understanding that the Beast is only in this not top 3 because he's perceived to be a bad dog. In reality, he probably has he's probably closer to the top 10 than the bottom 3 if we're talking.
And even that, like, these dogs don't have to be good dogs per se. We're just kind of scrambling for a nod.
In terms of greatness, yeah, exactly. So,
all right. So let me recap real quick. Number 10, Old Yeller. Number 9, the crime dog, McGruff. Number 8, Balto. Number 7, the Hound of the Baskervilles. And number 6, Buck, which doesn't matter, from the Call of the Wild.
All
right. Number 5, I'm going to cheat a little bit and give this one to multiple dogs. In fact, I'm going to give this one to a very specific number of dogs. I'm going to throw this one to 101 dogs. This one goes to the Dalmatians.
Yeah, led by the famous Pongo and Perdita.
Yes, precisely.
Who are not included amongst the 101, correct?
I don't believe they are.
I think that they have 101 separate puppies.
Yeah, so is the idea that they have 101 puppies in one litter?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That
is horrifying.
Can you imagine?
No.
No, it's like literally inconceivable. Because you'd have to...
Inconceivable!
Let's say... I don't think that means what you think it means. Even if every single one of them was a primo, and they were really little, 101 really little dogs is a lot of dog. And
you ever see a fetal mouse?
No.
Really?
Lately.
See, I've seen that. I had a mouse didn't lay eggs, but made a nest and then birthed mice in our grill one time. And then on our lawnmower another time. Weird spots.
That's a horrible places to give birth. You stupid mice.
Well, we didn't see the birth, but we saw the nest with the babies in it. And I'll tell you, I've seen what like a really microscopic fetal mouse looks like. 101 of those things would be a bitch to carry around.
Yeah.
Especially as a dog.
Biology aside, they are a bunch of cute little doggies. And
very.
I always loved the little ditty when in the Disney adaptation, the animated one, when they're all watching TV and the advertisement for Canine Crunchies comes on. You can be a champion too if you eat Canine Crunchies. And then the TV turns off and they're like, no, all 101 of them. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Absolutely. I have a special place in my heart for this movie because my Uncle Derek had a Dalmatian named Maverick. Yes, named Maverick.
That's fantastic.
Maverick was not a particularly well-behaved dog, and he was quite large and a little tough to deal with, but I loved him. He was the first dog I really knew. Probably the only dog I've ever really had a considerable relationship with, and he was in fact a Dalmatian.
Dalmatians are wondrous dogs to behold.
Yeah,
there's certainly no doubt about that. Their association with firefighting and firehouses specifically, I think, is one of the... I don't know how that came about, but it's one of the greatest associations I know.
I forgot about that. You're so right.
There's nothing better than seeing a Dalmatian on a fire truck.
Yeah. Wearing a hat. Oh my God. You ever see it like wearing a fireman's cap?
Not as often as I should.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an all-time great Disney movie.
Yeah. And the animated and the live action.
Both fantastic.
Glenn Close is a very famous and well-regarded actress, and this was the only thing I knew her from for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for me, when I think, like, when someone says Glenn Close, this is probably, like, one or two and things I think of with her in it.
Yeah, funny. Like I know she was in Fatal Attraction, but I haven't seen it. Like I'm aware of that movie. And then there was that TV show, that FX show she was on for quite some time that people liked.
I'm not sure.
I feel like she was a fixer or something. I don't know. But yeah, a distinguished career, and the Dalmatians have such influence that's all I think of.
I don't know if I'm making this up, but I heard rumors swirl about a live action remake was in production, or at least being bantied about, and the name getting tossed out there for Cruella de Vil was Emma Stone, which I think would be awesome.
Oh, she'd be perfect.
She'd be so good.
You know who else would actually be good? I would enjoy Kristen Wiig in that role.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think she is waiting for a really good villainous breakout. I know she voiced the villain in Despicable Me 3 after doing the friend in Despicable Me earlier. She did 2 different voices.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so she played, I'm trying to remember what the characters were, but did she play like the social worker or something? Somebody that they liked in one movie, and then she played...
She's the romantic interest in Despicable Me 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna confirm what roles she did, but I'm pretty sure she did 2, and one of them was villainous.
Interesting.
So I think she would be interesting, but yeah, I think that Emma Stone will be amazing.
I hope that I'm not making that up, because that's something I'd like to see.
Oh god, yeah. Wait, hold up, give me a second, I want to look this up now about Kristen Wiig. So I did a little Googling, and Kristen Wiig appears as the love interest, I think as you may have mentioned, in Despicable Me's 2 and 3, but she plays the woman who runs the orphanage in Despicable Me 1. I think bolstering her credentials as a potential villain. Also that scene where she blows her top at her friend Annie, or she's Annie, the friend.
Yeah.
The friend's, at the shower. I think bodes well for her role in my remake of the Dalmatians.
Yeah, so if the whole Emma Stone thing doesn't pan out.
Yeah, if they let me make the movie, Kristen Wiig is my lady.
Fantastic. What's number
4? Speaking of ladies, that was an unintentional segue. Number 4 is another combo. This one goes to Lady and the Tramp.
Ah, interesting. I thought you might go for a different lady.
No, not that lady.
They don't count.
She's not allowed.
Yeah. Lady/tramp.
Also, she would certainly not be my choice if I were picking dire wolves.
Yeah, amen.
We could do a top 10 dire wolves and she wouldn't even make it.
Wow, that's pretty aggressive. Considering there were only 6.
I would do the various flags on which the sigil of House Stark appears ahead of Lady.
It's not Lady's fault that she gets domed in the first book.
If we're talking about impact on my feelings, she'd be high because the fact that Nate has to kill her ass was incredible, but whatever. Lady is not on this list. Lady of Lady and the Tramp is, however, on this list. So basically my rationale for this ranking comes down to 5 seconds of one scene. It's the spaghetti kiss is one of the most famous scenes in I would say legitimately in movie history.
Yeah, it's iconic.
And that belongs to those dogs. I've seen this movie maybe once, and I remember thinking it was pretty good, but the whole time I was just waiting for that scene.
I actually like that movie a lot. There's a lot going on. There's that cool scene with the beaver, and he uses his muzzle to help him build a dam, and then the muzzle gets pulled off him. There are those pesky Siamese cats that go around and say,
I remember them.
We are Siamese. It's like, yeah, we know.
Also, like many old Disney cartoons, vaguely and kind of not so vaguely racist.
Like, overtly so.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's the classic tale of, guy coming from the wrong side of the tracks, falls in love with a lady of high society. And, at the end of the day, we find out that love conquers all, even the firmly entrenched gender and, class roles that society forces upon us.
Absolutely, Kyle. That was a beautiful thing. And whenever I think about society and class, I think always to a really great film that came out in the 90s. It's called D3, The Mighty Ducks. And there's this whole thing about
yes.
one of the characters tells the other to go back to his side of the tracks. And intelligently, one of the other guys steps in and says, listen, so-and-so, there are no trains, therefore no tracks. And to me, that's the society that I want to live in. No trains, no tracks. How we're going to get around in those sort of short distances where there's not a road that is, perfectly suited for the trip, I don't know. We'll get to that later. But I like to think of a world where there are no tracks to be on the wrong side of.
It seems like a weird way to make that point, to say, like, there are no trains, because I'm not sure what a train stands in for in this metaphor.
I think the point is he's taking it very literally. You can be a snobby asshole however much you want, but there's still no trains. Like, there's no tracks to be on the wrong side of, buddy.
Yeah. Well, who am I to question the writers of D3, The Mighty Ducks?
I don't think you're anybody to be questioning that.
I stand down, so.
Thank you. Alright, so that takes us through number 4. So I'm going to hit you with some honorable mentions.
Yeah.
This is such a massive list of honorable mentions that I'm literally going to give no attention to any of them except for the final 3 because I just thought of them and think they deserve potential inclusion. The rest I'm just going to buzz through.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with like the 80s, 90s dogs that were silly. Beethoven.
Yep.
Air Bud. Comet from Full House.
Ah.
Eddie from Frasier. Hooch of Turner and Hooch. Demon from Snow Dogs. The dog from Life is Rough. That's rough with 2 F's in case you were wondering. Next is advertisement dogs. So Spuds McKenzie and the Taco Bell Where's the Chalupa Chihuahua.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yep. Next is the coming of age in the 50s dogs, Skip from My Dog Skip and Shiloh from the Shiloh series.
Yep.
Next is the dogs that are also based in real life and are really like actually heroic and awesome. The dogs from the movie 8 Below. If you haven't seen the movie 8 Below, check it out. It's a great, great movie. Hound from Fox and the Hound. One of my all-time favorites. I was banned from watching it as a child because I referred to my mom as a blasted female.
As you do.
As you do. Cujo. Mm-hmm. Petey from Our Gang / The Little Rascals.
Oh, good one.
Yep. Sam from I Am Legend. One of my all-time favorites. I didn't want to include it because I put the dog from Call of the Wild instead, but I don't know. One of my all-time favorite movies, White Fang. Also, the problem is that that's just actually a wolf, so that's a no-go, because it's like an actual wolf. Alright, and then 3 that I just thought of as we started talking that I think might legitimately be considered. Brian Griffin.
He was on my list.
He probably, when you said talking dogs, I was like, oh god, I forgot Brian. Brian should probably be included. Also, Santa's Little Helper, I just thought of. But shouldn't be on the list, but I just remembered Santa's Little Helper. Doug from Up.
He was number 1 on my list of talking dogs, and Brian was number 2.
Yeah, Doug and Brian should probably be considered. And then finally, this is something to be considered, Padfoot. I don't know how Padfoot falls, because he's not an actual dog. He's probably a no-go because of that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a man.
But in his time as a dog is wonderful.
He's a good honorable mention. I think legally speaking, he's probably not quite a fit, but
yeah, we're probably not on firm ground. But I think of that list, Brian and Doug are legitimate contenders.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So do you want to do any honorables?
I'm gonna wait. I've got quite a list here, but I'll wait until you're done with yours. I suspect I know 2 of your top 3.
I suspect you definitely know 1. I'm not so sure about the others. You might know the others. Number 3, you're definitely not thinking of. Number 3 is gonna feel like a hot take at first, but it isn't. Number 3 is Bruiser Woods from the Legally Blonde films. So Bruiser, I really hope friend of the pod, Mike, the first of his name, King of the Andals,
Defender of the North.
Defender of the North. I hope he's listening because he loves Legally Blonde more than is reasonable or expected for a person with his measurables. Like, if you put him on a piece of paper, nobody's saying Legally Blonde, he loves it.
He's the biggest person that likes Legally Blonde.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question. And if he's not, he has the best bench press of anybody who likes Legally Blonde. So, Bruiser Woods has got so much going for her. The biggest thing in my research that I need to share is that she has her own wiki page. Like, she's a famous enough dog that she has a wiki page. Sure. She's one of the real highlights of Legally Blonde, but one of the real highlights of Legally Blonde too, when we find out that she's actually gay, was an interesting discovery for Bruiser Woods. She also, in my brief research, died in 2016 was given... Yes, but it's okay. She lived a nice full life. The Legally Blonde film came out in like 2001. And was given quite a post to send her off into the great doghouse in the sky by Reese Witherspoon. Okay. Yeah, I saw Legally Blonde once as a youth and don't remember a whole lot about it, but I think Bruiser gets a lot of points for
being representative of this style of dog. Basically,
the Paris Hilton kind of dog.
The handbag dog.
Yeah. But gets extra points for being a handbag dog whose name is Bruiser.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I thought the name was Breezer for a very long time because Bruiser is such a comically mismatched name that I thought it was something funky that I didn't understand.
Yeah, I quite enjoy the irony there of Bruiser.
Yeah,
because he is a Chihuahua, is he not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for the ladies listening to this podcast, I have a strong feeling this will resonate. I know that my sisters, if they're listening, will want Bruiser as high as possible. And my sister Nicole, I also know, I have to just point out for the crowd, definitely wants, J-Lo has a dog in some movie where the dog, its back legs don't work and it has a chariot. And she loves watching videos of dogs walking with chariots. She thinks it's beautiful and inspirational.
All right.
But there will be no such dogs on this list. Sorry, Nicole.
Bummer.
All right. That brings us to number two.
Number two.
One of the most famous dogs of all time. Probably the most famous dog of all time. Number 2, Lassie.
Yep.
Okay. So, I don't really give a shit about Lassie. I'm not, particularly interested. My Lassie bullet point that I put down here is that there have been 11 Lassies.
Wow.
Which is interesting and parodied very humorously on King of Queens when Doug finds out that his dog Rocky is actually like Rocky 5 and Rocky 3 was a girl.
That's kind of funny.
Which he didn't realize. But my other thing that I really love about Lassie is this sort of structure of, hey boy, what is it? What is it, boy?
Oh, Mike fell in the well?
Yes. And of course, the incredibly amazing parody of that on Seinfeld when Kramer realizes he has the same cough as a dog, where they do a very funny voiceover of a human coughing instead of a dog. He takes dog medicine and then starts behaving like a dog, and he sees some police officers who treat him as though he's Lassie. It's wonderful.
I really need to watch that whole show.
Yeah.
I think it's on Hulu.
I know, you and I have talked about this before.
We do not promote Hulu.
There's times when I describe an episode and you're like, that just can't possibly be true. Like, you just made that up.
Also, I just think that just shouldn't be something that I can't chime in on. I need to rectify this.
True. Cause there will absolutely be.
Yeah.
Some Seinfeld stuff. Probably with my dad, I would imagine. He's been pressing for a permanent co-host role.
Yeah.
And
well, my God.
Was on. Yeah.
I don't want to make you sweat, but our feedback on the Cookie Pod, this may very soon just become Jerry's pod and we may get booted.
Yeah.
People really like it.
I got a message at work. Jerry is a treasure.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of very positive response. I also got some people saying, I understand you now.
Right.
Which is interesting feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
So let's get number 1 out of the way. I'm sure we all know who this is.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you why he's number 1. So number 1 is, of course, the unquestioned and untouchable number 1, the greatest fictional dog of all time, the Scoobert Doo. Generally, people know him as Scooby, but his full name is Scoobert.
Of course.
So here's why, okay? Scooby has solved crime with this list of people. This is just a brief list that I put together from memory. There are many more. Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Like the Adam West Batman and Robin. He has solved crimes with Batman and Robin.
That's true.
The Three Stooges.
Yep.
The Harlem Globetrotters.
And multiple occasions.
On multiple occasions. Phyllis Diller.
Yep.
Don Knotts.
Which is hilarious.
Which is amazing. Like, just insane. Sonny and Cher. Sonny and friggin' Cher. Solving mysteries with Sonny and Cher. That's a fictional dog. He is the greatest dog of all time.
Yeah, you won't hear me debate you. Is because some of these dogs, like Lassie and Old Yeller, have a certain prestige to them, but no dog is more universally beloved and relevant in popular culture. I will cite the fact that you can go to the store and purchase Scooby snacks. They're like cinnamon kind of graham cracker type deals, and they're really good.
considered for the cookie pod. My dad mentioned them.
Exactly.
I love them so much. He loves them. They're amazing.
And there's there's the Scooby-Doo fruit snacks.
Those were big at my house too.
There's so many TV shows, so many books. I have a lot of Scooby-Doo books lying around my house.
Me too. I've got the Sunken Treasure.
The Yeti one.
Yes.
I've got a bunch of those. The one with Zombie Island. There's just there's so much Scooby-Doo content.
That's one of the great movies. I love the Zombie Island one.
It's really good.
The Cajun theme is amazing.
I appreciate it more so now as after watching True Detective. But
I was just gonna say that's True Detective. Jesus. Okay. All right, this needs to happen. We have to do. You and I have sort of been circling this for a long time. I think it's time we finally just start writing fanfic, and
just go all the way.
Just go all in. I think our first fanfic should be Trooby-Doo, and we have a True Detective Scooby-Doo mashup.
Like Sawing Scoop, those dudes are totally dead.
Time is a flat circle. Get the fuck out of the house, man. I know you've been cheating with that girl from the court.
Okay.
You're out, Scoob.
Alright, as soon as we're done with this pod, let's get working on that.
Yeah, let's get writing.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo is the best fictional dog of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have a very lengthy list of honorable mentions.
Yeah, hit me up.
Doug and Brian, you already mentioned. This one kind of straddles the line of legal or not. Frank from the Men in Black series, because he's technically an alien, though he looks like a pug.
Interesting. He does look a lot like a pug.
Yep. Duke from Bush's Baked Beans.
Oh my god. I love Duke.
I know. Bolt from the movie Bolt. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
I'm familiar. I didn't see it though.
Yeah, he is a dog that plays a superpowered dog on TV, and the effects are so good that he believes he's actually superpowered, which is hilarious.
It Tim Allen?
Sorry?
Is he played by Tim Allen?
I don't think so. I think you're thinking of the Shaggy Dog, starring Tim Allen.
Okay. Thank you.
Another one that only me and Connor from work know who we're talking about is Oi from The Dark Tower. Oi definitely doesn't count because he's in fact not a dog at all. He is a billy bumbler, but functions largely like a dog and can speak in short clipped words and is one of the best animal companions that I know of. Gromit of Wallace and Gromit fame.
Oh, I love Gromit.
I'm a little serious about Gromit.
I think Gromit should be seriously considered.
Yeah. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Chief from Isle of Dogs, voiced perfectly by Bryan Cranston.
He was but see, the tough thing to me about that is Chief was amazing. The standout to me was the Jeff Goldblum dog.
Did you hear?
Did you hear? He just keeps saying, did you hear?
I think if I had to pick one of those dogs to be my dog, though, I would have picked Chief.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. I won't actually stump too hard for him because he's just so recently been on the scene, but if this is my personal list, Chief would be very high.
Yeah.
Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven, which in retrospect is a really, really weird movie, especially for kids.
Yeah. I forgot about that existed.
Yeah. From the world of video games, I don't think you've ever played it, but Fallout, the most recent Fallout game, you wander a apocalyptic version of Boston with your trusty German Shepherd by your side. The dog's named by you, and so will change for everybody who interacts with this dog. But I've watched Cameron play a lot of this game, and there's something really cool about having a faithful canine companion by your side as you traverse this desolate wasteland.
I imagine Cameron probably names his dog something like Butthole.
It is a treat to watch Cameron play Fallout. His avatar has this ridiculous mustache that goes off the side of his face, and this crazy helmet, and these weird zany eyebrows. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I'm I'm halfway serious about the Fallout dog because it's very personal to everyone that plays the game.
That's a really interesting sort of twist on it.
Yeah, and it's this nameless dog that could be any dog you want it to be. So there's that one. Clifford, the big red dog.
Oh, I totally forgot Clifford. He should probably be.
I'm pretty serious about that one. Marley of Marley and Me.
Ooh.
Fang of Harry Potter.
But does Marley and Me suffer from? Is Marley and Me a real dog? It is, right?
It's probably based off of
because the movie is, it's like a very meta situation, right? Like I think that the Owen Wilson character is the real journalist who wrote Marley and Me and then was in the script, was in the movie.
That sounds right. Yeah, you're right.
So we're disqualified. But I don't know. That would mean I have to get rid of Balto. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah, Fang from Harry Potter, even though he's a big coward, and Buster from Toy Story.
Oh, I thought about Buster.
There's nothing.
I do love Buster.
There's nothing better than in Toy Story 3 when Woody whistles for him and he just kind of saunters in because he's old and fat.
Yeah.
A few more. Spot, the target dog.
Yep.
Goddard, Jimmy Neutron's robotic dog.
Ooh. Bark, bark.
Yep. Champion, Andy's three-legged dog in Parks and Rec.
What the hell was I this is the problem. There's so many of them.
There's just too damn many.
Champion, you're the champion of death. When Ron I think Ron is the one who ends up carrying him across the ice. Get on your feet.
I think you're right.
I think it's Ron who ends up having to carry him. That's also when I think it's the same episode. April tells Andy that Champion is a better kisser than him. And he's like, nuh-uh, and then kisses Champion.
He's a delight. I'm a big fan of Champion. Last two, Sandy from Annie.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mostly just because Cameron played Sandy in an elementary school production of Annie and pissed a lot of people off because whenever he was on stage, he would just act like a dog by like licking his crotch and like just like rubbing up on things and basically stealing the show.
For the listeners, that is exactly how the teachers should have expected that to go.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. So that was Cameron in like 7th grade. And the last one I have, my dad is obsessed with this movie.
Is it a Denzel Washington vehicle?
It is not a Denzel Washington vehicle. It's a bit of not indie, but it's a lesser known foreign film called Hachi. It's about this doctor. He lives in Japanese suburbs and commutes into Tokyo every day. I believe it's Tokyo. And he takes the train and I've heard about this. So he goes to the town square, gets on the train. His dog waits there for him. And then when he comes home, he gets off the train and they walk home together. This happens every day for however many years until one day at work, the doctor has a heart attack and dies and the dog just waits. The train comes, his guy doesn't come, and this dog Hachi waits there. And the story basically picks up there, and it's about how he basically spends the rest of his life waiting for his master to come back. And it's heartbreaking and just inspiring and really is one of the best stories that relate how important a dog can be in a person's life and vice versa. It's a really beautiful film, and it's, I think maybe it doesn't count, because I think Hachi was a real this definitely doesn't count. Hachi was a real dog. But there's a statue to this day in that square commemorating this beautiful, wonderful dog. So, wanted to mention that. That concludes my list of honorable mentions. Oh, no, I take that back. I want to shout out to three or three of some of the most important ladies in my life. Number one is Holly, our family's dog.
Kyle, not a fictional dog. Not even close.
Just wanted to shout her out. She is my girl. And our other dog, Harper, whose personalities very closely mirror mine and Cameron's, which is very funny. And then our cousin dog, my Aunt Edith's little dog Muffin, who deserves a shout out. Who we particularly love because she's a Maltese, so we get,
that's perfect.
There's that connection. So in summary, I would stump hard for Doug and Brian, like you said, probably Clifford, Gromit, and I'm like most of the way serious about the Fallout dog.
Okay.
So
Doug, Clifford, Brian, and Fallout dog,
and Gromit.
All right, what do you see as vulnerable on the list?
That's tough. I think Balto is vulnerable only because of the technicality surrounding his inclusion.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. As long as Balto got his time in the sun, if he can open up a spot for somebody, that's okay with me.
Okay. I think one of Old Yeller or Lassie, because I think they kind of serve kind of the same. Not really though, because Old Yeller, like you said, is so representative of like that coming of age struggle, and we couldn't possibly take Lassie off this list, so never mind. I think maybe he's a very important dog, but like we don't even really know his name unless you look it up. Buck.
Well, I think if we need like old-timey dog, Old Yeller can stand in for us.
Yeah, I think so. As much as the story is amazing, I think there's not enough personality to the Hound itself in the Hound of the Baskervilles.
You're probably right about that.
Yeah. The Dalmatians must stay. I think Lady and the Tramp must stay. I think Bruiser deserves a spot, probably, but maybe moves down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Those are the only three I can really think of that I would want to pull. I think Gromit, though I love him to death, is probably not well known enough to make it. The Fallout Dog, same thing.
Yeah.
In which case, we would be left with Clifford and Doug and Brian, and that 3-3 trade-off makes me think like that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wait, I forgot one dog I wanted to mention. Anwar Sadat from I Love You Man. So named because he looks just like former Egyptian president Anwar Sadat.
Good reason to name a dog that way.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to make sure I shouted that. I was just looking at my list.
Absolutely. So let's get to work.
Yeah.
I think that Scooby-Doo and Lassie should be 1-2.
Yep, agreed.
I think I kind of like Old Yeller and Scruff McGruff where they are.
Yeah, I agree.
I would personally move Bruiser down a little bit. I think Clifford belongs probably in that spot. I think Clifford belongs as high as like 3, 4, 5, that range. How do you feel about that?
I think of the three dogs we're adding, he's definitely the most iconic.
Yeah.
I actually think upon review that the Dalmatians might be number 3.
Okay, so let's put the Dalmatians at 3.
Yep.
How about Lady? Let's put a little room between the Disney dogs. What do you think about Clifford at 4?
Yeah, I think Clifford 4 is a comfortable spot.
Okay. Then Lady and the Tramp.
Yep.
Do you think Bruiser is above or below Doug and or Brian?
I'd probably go Doug, Bruiser, Brian.
I completely agree. You are my master. Did we screw our math up here? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, we're good.
No.
So we have Doug, Bruiser, Brian, Scruff McGruff, and then Old Yeller.
It's starting to feel like we might have a list.
I think that what we have done here is constructed a list of the top 10 fictional dogs that we know of. And I'm sure despite the ridiculous number of dogs we just listed, I'm sure we've missed some, but...
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get some serious shit from most likely our friend Quinn.
Yeah.
And probably others.
Oh, certainly. So.
But there are so many dogs that I feel very comfortable with the effort we've put into this thing.
I think we've done our due diligence at the very least.
Yes.
It's your list, Mike. Why don't you rattle off the top 10 dogs?
All right. Number 10, cat dog. Number 9,
hey,
cat
piss
dog.
off.
Number 8, cat. Okay, sorry. Number 10, Old Yeller. Number 9, McGruff. Number 8, Brian Griffin, I guess is his last name.
Yeah.
A Family Guy. Number 7, Bruiser Woods. Number 6, Point. Doug. Number 5, the Spaghetti Twins. I guess they're not twins because they're romantic interests. Lady and the Tramp. Number 4, Clifford. The big red dog. The big red dog, if you're forgetting which one Clifford is. Yeah. Number 3, all 101, and I suppose if we're including sequels, 102.
And Pongo and Perdita.
Yes, and Pongo and Perdita. Number 2, Lassie. And number 1, the champ, the unquestioned greatest fictional dog of all time, our good friend, Scoobert Doo.
Undefeated and untied. All right.
Untied.
Well, that was a good deal of fun, I say.
Yes, I say that was enjoyable. That was exactly how my Thursday night needed to go.
Amen, brother. All right. Well, Good job, buddy. I'll talk to you soon then.
All right, catch you on the flippity flip.
Peace.
Alrighty, friends. That was our top 10 for this week, but now we'd love to hear your top 10. So please check us out on all of our available social media outlets, traditional outlets, whatever outlets we have. Check us out on Twitter at top10km. That's all spelled out, top10km. Our email, top10km, spelled the same way, at gmail.com. Or our site, top10km.podbean.com. All forms of communication accepted, except for serial killer notes. Please don't send us any of those.
If you like the pod, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never have to miss an episode of Top 10 ever again. If you didn't like it, please tell us why. We'll try to make the show better. Our theme music was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and our artwork was created by Erin Sant. You can check out her stuff at Sant Design on Instagram.
Alrighty, goons. We'll see you next week.